Hey there, folks. How you doing today? Welcome back. Happy New Year 2024. Please bear with the background racket. The roosters are ringing in the new year out there. It's early in the morning. It's cold, and they're letting us know that they're alive. We're not going to let that interfere with what we're doing here because we have some really good stuff, all kinds of cool stuff out here on the table for us. We're going to cover it, starting with the all-new, just hit the market here locally in the North Houston area, Savage Stevens 334 rifle in 308. That's what we have as a platform here. The box is up there. Really cool rifle. Got it for $400 the other day. Took it to the range. Did a full review on it. I invite you to jump over there and check that out. Really worthwhile content. Nothing real bad to say about this rifle. But we're not here to talk about the rifle today. We're here to talk about the optic, or in this case, optics. You might be wondering why there's two scopes out here. This scope is the Crimson Trace Hardline MR1 MOA. That scope is the Crimson Trace Brushline BDC. Both of these scopes are in 3 to 9 by 40 with 1-inch tubes, and both of them were provided to the channel for this review by Crimson Trace. Now, if you're not aware that Crimson Trace and American Outdoor Brands are loyal supporters of what we do here on the channel, I ask you to watch this word from our sponsor. If you are watching this, then you probably know that Crimson Trace has a long and reputable history producing quality laser products for the firearms industry, such as the LS250 laser saddle shown here on the Mossberg Shockwave. But did you know they now have a full line of quality accessories to include both red and green laser sights, tactical lights, electronic sights, and rifle scopes to rival other premium brands on the market today? From the novice outdoorsman to the tactical professional, Crimson Trace offers a wide range of budget-friendly to premium rifle scopes to meet your operational needs. All Crimson Trace products are backed by their no-hassle limited lifetime warranty. Check them out now and use promo code J10 to save 10% off your next purchase. So why two scopes and why these two scopes? Well, we have reviewed multiple optics here on the channel for Crimson Trace in the past. Most of the optics that we have reviewed for them were from their premium lines. One of the things that I keep hearing from you people, hey Jay, I can't afford a $600, $700, $1,000 rifle scope. It's just not in my budget. Guess what, folks? It's not in mine either. That being said, I reached out to the folks over at Crimson Trace and I told them just that. I said, hey, times are tight. We're paying a lot for groceries these days, and some of the guys are wanting to see what your economy line of scopes has to offer for the market. So I figured, what better way to illustrate economy scopes than on a budget-friendly rifle? So that's why we have this platform set up here. I'm going to split this into two separate parts. We're going to start by talking about the Hardline MR1 MOA. I'll throw up the reticle here. The reticle is the MR1 MOA. That's why they refer to the scope as that. I'll cover the specs here in just a second. Just know that it's kind of a traditional MilDOT kind of setup, although it is in MOA. More on that later. If you don't know what the difference is, it probably doesn't pertain to you. Just know that this scope is set up as a shooter scope, whereas the other one is more of a hunting scope. We'll get more into that later. As a shooter scope, this one has exposed turrets. Now, why would you want exposed turrets on a scope? That's pretty simple. If you are out on the range and you're engaging targets at varying distances, you can dial in your windage and elevation that way. This scope has 75 inches of windage and elevation movement. We didn't come anywhere close to hitting any of that, taking it all the way out to 300 yards. The scope has a preset parallax at 100 yards, although all the way out to 300, we had no issues with mirage or distortion. That should be really important. The optics are crystal clear. Tried it with an assortment of ammunition. No issues whatsoever. Utilizing the Hardline MOA scope on this rifle platform. I'll throw it up over here. This was my first shot on paper at 100 yards. And so then I dialed in what I thought I needed for the ammunition that we chose for the test. And I got right there on the first try, so just know that the movements are positive and right where they need to be. This scope does not have zero stops like a more expensive scope would, so if you were using it in low light conditions, that could be an issue. But just know that the turrets are easy to set to zero once you've established what ammunition you're going to use by simply lifting the turret, turning it to align the zero with the reference mark, and then releasing it. It'll pop back down. And then if you have to make any adjustments while you're out shooting, once you're done, you can just return it to zero and it's good and positive. We tested that on the range extensively yesterday, several rounds, jumping back and forth between 1, 2, and 300, and had no issues with it. So I'm going to say that's a good feature and it works. Moving on into the rest of the features of the scope, I've got them written down here. MSRP on this one, $259. If you use that promo code I told you about earlier, you'll save 10%. You also might find it on sale. They do run sales periodically over on Crimson Trace's website. It has the MR1 MOA reticle. I'll put that back up there again so you can see it. 3.5 inches of eye relief. Eye relief on this one was a non-issue. It was very forgiving. I was able to move back and forth about that much and keep a full field of view. And never did I feel like I was crowding on the scope. 1-inch tube. These are set in medium rings. You'll notice plenty of clearance on this rifle. You could probably get away with low rings. However, the zoom adjustment knob is a little bit girthy, and low rings might rub on your rail. So just keep that in mind. I think mediums are the way to go with a 40 millimeter scope. Let's see, what else? We covered that it's got 75 inches of windage and elevation. Again, didn't come close to needing that, but we only took it out to 300 yards. If you were going to take it any further than that, then it might become an issue, but for most folks, it's going to be just fine. 12.5 inches long. The weight on this one was just over 17 ounces. Of course, that doesn't include the ring, so keep that in mind. As I mentioned before, it is a shooter scope, not so much a hunting scope, and the reticle is a little busy for hunting, although I have hunted with milled out reticles in the past, and depending on what you're doing, it's generally not an issue. I wouldn't recommend it for a brand new shooter. All those little marks on there could get confusing to a new shooter. For a youth, I prefer something like a more conventional duplex or something closer to what's on the other scope that we have out here today. But for somebody that knows what they're doing or somebody who's playing around at the range, this would be a really good option for a scope. I didn't do a submersion test with it like I have in the past because I've submersed several Crimson Trace scopes in the past and it's never been an issue, and to me it's kind of pointless. Most people aren't going to be underwater with these. However, yesterday it was real foggy. We had wide variance of temperature change. The scope was, you could see the frost building up on it yesterday morning when we headed out there. And never did it appear to be an issue with the lenses. We didn't have any visible change looking through the glass. These are coated lenses. I think they're green coated. No issues with glare whatsoever through this rifle scope. I think I've gone on long enough about it now. Plain Jane tactical style scope. If you are in the market for one, I think this would be a good option. But enough of what I think about it. Let me know down below if you've tried one of these, if you're familiar with them, if you have any success stories with them. I'd like to hear about it down below. If you have any criticism of it, let us know down there. Also, the folks over at Crimson Trace do follow what we put out here, and that feedback helps them to create better products for in the future. But as I said, no issues with this one, so I'm going to give it a goodbye recommendation and encourage you to consider it if you're looking for a scope of this nature. Until next time, folks, take care. God bless.